So the last speaker will be Olly Hayes from Friends of the Earth nationally to talk about really what he thinks we might be doing in terms of campaigning. After Olly speaks, what I'm going to suggest is that we have a break for probably 5 minutes, no more than that. There's a bit of food and drink at the back, there's leaflets at the back, people might want to use the loos. And then we come back and discuss, question, and so on. Oh, and also, one of our number will be saying, campaigning costs money, and if you've got any spare, we'd like it. Thank you.
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Olly Hayes, and I'm campaigner.
Sorry? I think you want to make sure he's on the video. I think you're in.
Well, I can see the cameras. I hope you can see me.
No, I can't.
I'll go and sit over here.
Well, Ian, do you want to come here then?
I feel like a promotion. Suddenly more important. Right, so I'm Olly Hayes. I work at Friends of the Earth, and I'm a campaigner there. And first of all, I want to say it's brilliant to see so many people here, and also to hear the quality of the debate. We're quite often quite rude about politicians, and often don't have great things to say about their policy detail. But actually, it's been really, really heartening to hear the extent to which everybody on the panel is engaging with the issue and seems to know a great deal about it, so that's excellent. I just wanted to do a quick show of hands. Who here, perhaps thinking back to before they came to this meeting, would consider that the air in which they live and work, the air that they breathe every day is bad or very bad? That's pretty high. It's a pretty high percentage. And probably there's a reason you came to this meeting. The reason I ask is because we've been asking our own supporters what they think about air quality. We've got about 100,000 people on our email lists, and we've been asking them various things. And they have consistently said, as the panel has said, that air quality is a huge problem, that it's killing a lot of people, it's making a lot of people unnecessarily ill. They've also been saying when they live in London that in London it's a huge problem, and then they go on to say, but where I live it's fine. And both those things generally can't be true. And actually the biggest problem facing action on air quality is that it's not a national scandal. It is a national scandal, it should be a national scandal. We've heard the figures that it's killing more people than anything, second only to smoking, really. It's killing more people than passive smoking was killing before the smoking ban. It's killing more people than road traffic accidents and alcohol and obesity than pretty much anything you would like to name. But it's not a thing that people feel. It's and almost you can't really allow yourself to feel that, because if you're walking down the street thinking every single breath I take is toxic and horrible, you're soon going to just shrivel up into a ball in the corner and you know, what can you do? So it's not really surprising, but it does present a massive problem for campaigners, because we know that politicians at the top level, but at every level, will only do a thing about this if the people who vote for them are up in arms about it, or at least up in arms to some extent. And that's our greatest challenge. So I'll come on to talk at the end a little bit about what we would like people to do with us. But I did just want to reflect on a couple of things that I heard. I recognise very all too well the challenges of hanging up bicycles in crowded flats in London, and I've done some fairly ill-advised DIY projects to achieve that end. But it is true that the more we can do to get people out of their cars and onto taking journeys by foot or walking or cycling where they can, the better. It's not a particularly sort of sexy message. If you go around telling people to do a bit more walking, a bit more cycling, you largely won't get anywhere. So we need to create the conditions in which it is the most attractive option. Over 70% of journeys taken in the UK are what's defined as short, which is 5 miles or under. There is a huge number of journeys being made by car that could, by those who can, be done by other means. And I was really encouraged to hear the proposal that that this borough goes, I think you said you were consulting on the idea of it going 20 mile an hour.
Yeah, we want to.
That is one of these measures which can have an enormous impact on air quality, not because vehicles driving at 20 are emitting particularly less than they are at 30, but because with 20 mile an hour there is a perception that the streets are much safer. Children are more likely to be allowed to walk to school, people are more likely to get on their bike and feel like crossing the road isn't a bit of a lottery each time. So that's certainly one measure that we want to see lots more of. A lot was said about the extent to which this problem is not one which respects borders at any level, and that is of course true, and I feel a huge amount of sympathy for anyone trying to grapple with air quality, be it in their council area or their ward or their parliamentary constituency, because somebody driving through on a motorway that goes through all of these places, how do you deal with them, whose responsibility are there, etc., etc. Which is why we shouldn't lose focus on the fact that this is a problem that national government have to sort out, and they're having spectacularly failing. It's breathtaking, almost literally, I suppose, that they find themselves being taken to court, both in the UK courts and by a fantastic campaigning organisation, campaigning lawyers called Client Earth, and also facing pretty big fines from the EU. The reason they're in court is because they're 15 years late in meeting legal limits for NO2. They were supposed that the UK has 43 air quality zones, and 38 of them by 2010 were failing to meet the legal limit for NO2, and this was the time in which by which they were supposed to be meeting these limits. They had the option. This is DEFRA, the Secretary of State at the time, had the option of saying at that stage, okay, we'd like an extension because we are prepared to take the action to get these levels down in what's called the shortest time possible. And for 16 of these zones, they just decided it was too hard, couldn't be bothered, which is why they've now wound up in court. And it's a bit of a symptom of what has happened on a lot of areas on the environment, that rather than trying to tackle this problem, they're fighting it in the courts. So that, the UK government is fighting back against Client Earth. It's questioning the legitimacy of the EU to impose these fines, all the rest of it. Meanwhile, 40,000 people a year are dying early. We need 9,500 people in London are dying early. So it does frustrate me that the one body, I suppose, the UK government, who can do most to implement policies that would have an impact everywhere, are choosing not to. That's not to say that nothing's happening. There is some stuff happening, definitely. We now have 5 clean air zones being proposed as a result of this court action, and therefore, 6 clean air zones in London and 5 other cities. But there's nothing to say that every city shouldn't have a clean air zone. If you're living in Southampton or London or Leeds or Birmingham or Glasgow, you're going to get a clean air zone. But why not Manchester? Why not Liverpool? Why not anywhere? So it's very disappointing. In London, I'm actually quite sort of optimistic. It's one of the few times I can ever remember where an election has, I'm talking about the mayoral election now, has produced something you might call a race to the top. We, Friends of the Earth, with any certainly the general elections and often with London mayoral elections coming up, we will be lobbying all the candidates, saying, will you commit to X, Y and Z policy across the spectrum, and desperately trying to get the issue up the agenda. In this election, certainly air quality is right up there. Both the candidates who are most likely to win are talking about it in varying different terms, and obviously Green Party candidate is talking about a huge amount, as is Lib Dems. But that does create and present an opportunity. We are likely to see, I think, more action in the next 4 years, whoever wins, than we probably have recently. Even so, there are lots of things not being discussed. It's really good to be here because, as was mentioned, the North Circular is a huge cause of concern in terms of air quality. And its ultra-low emission zone, which is being proposed at the moment, will only cover what is effectively still the congestion charge in central London, and it won't come in until 2020. in Friends of the Earth's view, in my view, in our view, there's no reason why that shouldn't come in sooner. The infrastructure pretty much exists. You've got the congestion charging infrastructure. You can easily modify that to be applied to ultra-low emission zones. There's no reason that the penalties shouldn't be higher, because you're effectively pricing the poorest people off the roads at the moment. If you're saying, okay, you shouldn't come in here, but if you do, you just have to pay 100 quid. It's a lot, but it will still mean that coaches come in when they shouldn't, and all the rest of it. And there's absolutely no reason why it shouldn't be extended at least to the north and south circular, and be something like an ultra-low emission zone worthy of the name. The final thing I'll say on that is that there has been a lot of focus on buses, and it's good to see. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that public transport and buses are part of the solution. We know that you can fit an awful lot of people in a bus, and the equivalent road space taken up by people in cars is vast, the equivalent pollution is vast. So good public transport and good buses are part of the solution. However, anyone who's been in London when there's been a bus strike will have noticed a massive drop in air quality. Anyone who has cycled behind a bus, as I do most days, will notice that it's not very nice. There are TfL plans to improve the fleet. We've now, for the first time, got an all-electric double-decker being trialled, and there are a small number of single-deckers, and you've got a decent number of hybrids. This all needs to be massively, massively sped up. Diesel buses are responsible for about 25% of London's transport emission NO2. It's a big chunk of the problem, and it needs sorting out. And there is a loophole in the ultra-low emission zone as currently proposed, which says that only hybrid buses will be allowed in there, which is all well and good, except it doesn't say that they'll have to be driving under the electric mode while they're there. So you can be a hybrid bus, and you say hybrid on the side, but you can be driving around in what is supposed to be an ultra-low emission zone, belching out diesel, and we think that's something which should be closed. I've been banging on for a long time. You've been patiently listening to us for a long time, so I'll shut up there and look forward to questions. I would just say we've got some sign-up sheets at the back of the room. I'm not quite sure where they are. Yeah. Friends of the Earth is for a very long time. Thank you. For a very long time, been working on air quality and on the policy around it, working in coalition with a lot of health groups and transport groups, etc. We're now, I'm really pleased to say, ramping up our campaigning activity. I'm running a team which has got people from all sorts of disciplines, and we hope to be doing a lot of public campaigning, but we're going to need people campaigning with us. We are determined to give people things to do, to feel the problem in their own hands. I think monitoring on a personal level has a big part to play in that. It's all very well being bombarded with facts and figures. If we can get people to be doing, I don't know if any of you have seen diffusion tubes, they look like the sort of thing you might give a sample to a doctor in, but they're not, and they're a brilliant way of measuring nitrogen dioxide. They're very, very cheap. But also there's a brilliant number of apps for phones and associated widgets which are coming onto the market, and I think these are all essential, not in doing a great service in terms of providing data that we don't already have, but in enabling a lot of people to feel and see for themselves the problem in order that they can act together to put pressure on politicians like those here and others, but also to take actions at a community level, because there is a lot that can be done without having to monitor politicians to do it, although that is quite fun. So I'll stop there. Thanks very much.